Welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Indrani Bhattacharya, Associate Professor, Department of Museology, University of Calcutta, West Bengal. Our subject is Indian culture and course is Museology. Today we will discuss on the module Remedial Measures of Conservation of Cultural Property. The learning objectives of this module are remedial measures and protection against decay, how to control temperature, humidity, etc. in museum gallery, and how to control illumination level in museum gallery, how to control pest or insect attack and fungal attack in museum gallery, and at last the module will discuss on the treatment about rusting, patination, bronze disease and other types of problems. Conservation of cultural property are the main function of a collection-based museums. Museum objects are susceptible to deterioration due to many factors. Conservation includes not only prevention of object from deterioration but also remedy or treatment of defects already exist in the object. It also entails protection from further decay and also includes the proper maintenance and storage of the object. Here we should mention the recommended level of relative humidity for different type of objects for mixed collection in the humid tropical climate should be 65%. Mixed collection in Europe or America should be 55%. Mixed collection in low winter temperatures should be 45 to 50%. And materials like textiles, metals, local materials exhibited in the arid region should be 40 to 45%. To control relative humidity, we should done dehumidification or humidification. For dehumidification, we can use electrically operated humidifiers. Desiccant dehumidifiers are used for cold climates, whereas refrigerant dehumidifiers are used for warmer conditions. To control climate, central air conditioning are the best method, but it is very expensive and in case of museums in India, it is not always possible to install total air conditioning in a museum, basically in the small museums. To increase humidity, humidifier is used. Electrically operated humidifiers are of two types, atomizing types and evaporative types. The level of illumination is also important for the upkeeping of our museum object. It can be kept under control by using filters that absorb ultraviolet rays. A ultraviolet monitor measures the proportion of ultraviolet radiation in the light. There are commercially available ultraviolet filters or meters. Rigid plastic acrylic sheets containing ultraviolet absorbers may be used. Thin acetate or polyester films and varnishes containing ultraviolet absorbers can also be used to control ultraviolet rays. The mean wavelength of ultraviolet rays is 300 to below 300. Plastic sleeves are available for covering around fluorescent tubes. Modern pens containing titanium dioxide, which is also an alternative to absorb ultraviolet rays. I have already mentioned that air condition is the best way to control the temperature, but it is not always possible to install it because it is very expensive. But the main two objectives for air conditioning a museum gallery and storage area is the comfort of the visitor and employees, but its utmost use is the conservation of collection. If we classify our object into three types, that is organic, inorganic and composite, first we should start with the remedial measures taken for the organic objects. When we consider about the wooden object or such type of cane, basketry, etc., we know that wooden objects are organic in nature. Main constituent of wood is cellulose, along with semicellulose, and as binding media, lignin is present. Wood is generally attacked by insect, fungus, effect of climate. It may be waterlogged. There may be some soil deposition on it. Relative humidity and temperature should be kept under control because both of these affect wooden objects severely. In case of wooden object, insects may be killed by the rise of temperature or by the reduction of pressure, which is also known as vacuum treatment. And this vacuum treatment kills the insect. The poisoning with the gas, that is with insecticidal gas, or fumigation and spraying or impregnation with liquids, which also kills the insect which attack our wooden object. Dust which cover our wooden object on our cultural property should be removed slowly and carefully with the help of a soft fine hairbrush. Spraying is one of the best way for the treatment of insect. Impregnation with liquid insecticides may be carried out by using a pipette or a syringe to insect the liquid with the holes. Alternatively, the insecticide may be brushed in. In that cases, depending on the object and type of damage, the size of the brush will vary. Large undecorated timbers may be required to be drilled in an inconspicuous spots to enable the insecticide to penetrate. Here we can use a syringe for the penetration of the insecticide into the insect holes. Impregnation method may be effective as fumigation, but the insecticide should not stain the object because sometimes the color of the object entails its aesthetic value. It does not soften, paint or damage any decoration on this type of object with which the solution come into contact. Sterilization may also be done by spraying. It is not very effective for killing pests, but for surface attack it is very nice. But the pests which have already bored into the object, spraying is not a working method. Fumigation with the fumigant or insecticidal gas is very good precautionary measures. Fumigation may be carried out in a sealed gas chamber and with suitable equipment. It is possible to reduce the pressure to a partial vacuum before admitting the gas. Carbon disulfide is a very good, reliable insecticide for the fumigation of valuable objects of all kinds. Precaution must be taken as it evaporates readily to form explosive mixture with it. In that case, 1 gram of carbon disulfide is mixed with 4 parts of carbon tetrachloride and then the fumigation has to be done. And this is not an explosive mixture when exposed to air. We require 28.5 grams of carbon disulfide for fumigation of 8 cubic feet area. Nowadays, most of the museums use para-dichlorobenzene, which acts in normal room temperature, and it is also a very good fumigant. Thymer requires little heat to fumigate, and it also helpful to arrest fungal attack. Methyl bromide and ethyl bromide are also act as fumigant, but they have some disadvantages also. When we use it, we should be secure about these disadvantages. When we discuss about treatment against fungus, we know that in hot and humid climate, a fungal attack is very normal, and structural timber is most prone to attack because it may become wet due to adequate provision of damp-proof courses. Large wooden objects are much more likely to be attacked by fungus than objects kept indoors. It is very good to isolate the object by introducing a damp-proof course of slate, lead, etc. and by protecting any indute with impregnating courses. Leather objects also constitute a large portion of museum collection. Leather object comes from skin. Raw and uncured skin becomes putrefied in damp condition, so it should be tanned properly before making a leather object. And in damp condition, it loses its fibrous structure. In the microstructure of leather, we have seen that animal skin are composed of a reticulate network of protein fibers, of which the main constituent is collagen. And collagen has a chain structure, that is, it consists of long molecules composed of many atoms attached together like a chain. For an infestation on a large scale, fumigation with para-dichlorobenzene or methyl bromide is advisable. For treating an infestation on a smaller scale, it may be possible to use carbon disulfide in a vacuum chamber. For small outbreaks, spraying with liquid insecticidal solution are generally adopted by using a good hand-operated atomizer or spray gun. When we excavated a leather object from a damp or ground or bog, it becomes weakened and distorted, but the leather may retain a certain flexibility in wet condition, which would lose permanently if we allow it to dry. First, the surface should be washed with water using a fine brush to remove all the dirt, dust, etc. Then it should be rubbed with 2% solution of phenol in alcohol. After that, it is increased immediately in molten Vaseline at a temperature of 80 to 100 degrees for a day or even longer. Then the Vaseline is replaced by paraffin wax by immersing the leather in molten wax at 110 degrees centigrade for half an hour. Then the leather is removed from the paraffin wax and then stuffed with soft paper. A little amount of bitumen powder may be added to the final solution because it will not sew as a film on the surface. For the treatment of the horny leather, when the leather is very dry, it can be done by impregnation with one of the hydrophilic polyethylene glycol wax. The object is left immersed in the molten wax at 50 degrees centigrade until the leather becomes flexible, usually in few days. It is then washed with toluene because we have to remove the excess of the wax and allow to dry. Such objects may also be treated with crystalline wax preparation. Hardened leather objects may also be made flexible by the preparation of 2% castor oil. Consolidation may be done with a leather dressing, which is usually known as British Museum leather dressing because it was first used in the British Museum laboratory. It is a mixture of anhydrous lanolin, cedarwood oil, beeswax and hexane or petroleum ether. Here we can see a photograph from the National Research Laboratory for Art and Cultural Heritage in Lucknow. Mainly the conservation of paper and related materials are done in this laboratory. Paper is also an important material which constitute a large number of collections in our museums and other institutions in archives also. Paper is deteriorated due to moisture, due to acidity, suspended particulate matter, oxides of sulfides, nitrogen, etc. Alum, which is used for the preparation of paper, is hydrolyzed and it increases the acidity of paper. And it is very important to remove this acidity, and which is known as deacidification of paper. For deacidification of paper, dry method as well as wet method is used. In dry method, ammonia is used. Sometimes the room or the stack or the storage area or the gallery is fumigated with ammonia. In case of deacidification of paper, we sometimes use saturated lime water. For deacidification, we also use magnesium bicarbonate. It neutralizes the acid, and the magnesium carbonate thus formed is used as the reserve which act against the further acidification of paper. Before deacidification, test that is present on the paper should be properly tested. Stains on paper may be removed by eraser, soaking in water or in organic solvents like toluene, methanol, trichloroethane, acetone, etc. Chloramine in alcohol is also a good chemical for this. Here is two snapshots from the Conservation Laboratory of the National Museum, New Delhi, where the repairing and the consolidation of textiles have been done. Mainly, textile objects are conserved by washing with water, but utmost care should be taken in that cases, and the object should be strong enough to withstand the mechanical strength which is involved in this process. In this process, a shallow tray is used and 1/2 of the tray is covered with distilled water, and then washing is done. Washing should be followed by immediate drying, but in these cases, all the work with the help of gold or silver or metal work, thread work should be properly pinned to the edges of the tray. For fragile or deteriorated textile, we should take the measures like dry cleaning. Dry cleaning can be done by vacuum treatment along with brushing. It can be done with the help of organic solvents. It may be done with spirit soap, and dry steam is also used in case of fragile textile. Solvent cleaning is one of the best way for proper cleaning and washing of the textile because it does not soften textile fibers and there is also less shrinkage and loss of shape. Dyes which are not fused in water may be undisturbed by solvent. Solvent more easily dissolve grease than water. Solvents are also volatile and it will dry very quickly. But solvent cleaning has some disadvantages also because these are expensive. Petroleum-like solvents keeps fire easily, but chlorohydrocarbons are not inflammable. The vapors of these solvents are harmful to health. Discussion about the remedial measures which we have taken for inorganic objects. Inorganic objects which are mainly made up of metals, mainly copper, its alloys, iron, lead, gold, silver, etc. are widely found in museums not only in India but all over the world. Gold and silver are noble metals and they require little care. And remedial measures in these cases are also very small. Metallic corrosion is mainly the reversion of metal to its ores or minerals. Iron objects corrode very easily and iron oxides or sulfides are formed. Chlorides also play an important role in the corrosion of the metal core of iron. Slightly corroded iron artifacts are treated electrochemically or electrolytically. If the iron object have only a thin metal core, it should be cleaned and consolidated with polyvinyl acetate or paralloid B72. Next to iron, we come to the metal like copper and its alloys, that is bronze and brass. For this type of object, an aqueous solution of sodium sesquicarbonate is used to remove the chlorides from this type of objects. It should be soaked for few weeks. Bronze disease, bronze or brass or copper object may also be treated with alkaline Rochelli salts. The composition of this salt is potassium, sodium tartarate 15 grams, sodium hydroxide 5 grams and distilled water 80 ml. The most drastic process for the treatment of corroded metal object is electrochemical method and then electrolytic reduction. Electrochemical reduction is carried out in an electrolytic cell, keeping the artifact in the cathode with two-strip iron gauge suspended off either side of the object as an anode in a 5% sodium hydroxide or sodium carbonate or acetic acid or formic acid as electrolytic bath. Direct current is passed from a 1 to 50 volts source with an optimum capacity of 2 amperes per square decimeter with respect to cathodic object. It is done from a few to several hours depending upon the thickness of the incrustation on the object. Here we should discuss about the stone object, how we should treat the stone object in our custody. Mainly, rocks are of three types, that is igneous rocks, sedimentary rocks and metamorphic rocks. Granite, basalt, etc. are igneous rocks. Sandstone, limestone, shale, etc. are sedimentary rocks, and we all know that marble, schist, gneiss, etc. are metamorphic rocks. Stone object often accumulated stains because of its very beautiful white or light color. Dirt also accumulated on it. Dust can easily be removed by brushing. Dirt accretion are removed by distilled water with the help of mixing a mild detergent with it. Oil and grease, etc. from the stone object can be removed by organic solvents. Usually, organic solvents are chemically not so reactive to inorganic stone objects. Paper pulp treatment is very helpful in case of stone object. For removal of salt, a poultice is applied. Porous materials such as cotton, wool, paper pulp or sapoolite are used as poultices. A 5% solution of ammonium oxide is also used for removing algae. For stone objects, we also see carbonaceous accretion, which could be removed by laser cleaning. Laser cleaning is now widely used in conservation works, but in India, some researches are going on it. Polyphenol acetate, Parpex, araldite, paraloid B72, etc. are commonly used for the repair and consolidation of stone objects, monuments, etc. For restoration of stone objects, sometimes dialing can be done. Glass is an amorphous, transparent, translucent mixture of a number of metallic silicates. Generally, it does not require any special treatment except washing with warm water and soap and followed by drying with cloth. Pottery constitutes a major portion of museum collection. Pottery may be baked or unbaked. For removal of soluble salt from pottery, we use water for washing. In case of terracotta or baked clay, for removal of salt, paper pulp treatment is also done. Insoluble salt incrustation is also done, which involve the use of dental equipment. After removal of salts, consolidation may be done with polyphenol acetate or polymethacrylate. Here we see a snapshot of the remedial measures which have already taken for a composite object. Painting is another important area where sometimes we have to take serious remedial measures, and in case of paintings there are three essential components. Number one is support, number two is ground, and number three is paint. The support may be of paper or wood or fabric or plaster. If one layer of painting is disturbed or deteriorated, other layers are also disturbed due to strain exerted by the disturbed layer. To prevent any type of damage, miniature painting should always be exhibited in showcases. Loose surface dirt from the painting can be removed with soft brush. In the painting gallery, one should give special emphasis on the level of illumination, because lighting is the most important thing. In case of painting, the level of lighting helps to express the aesthetic value of the painting, as well as the level of illumination destroy or damage the paint to a serious level. Controlled relative humidity and temperature should be maintained in the display area of painting and also in the storage area where the paintings are stored. In this module, we discuss all the remedial measures in a very brief way, but relatively few instrumental techniques find frequent application to conservation in museums. The National Conservation Advisory Council has devoted considerable effort to the study of equipment needed for conservation laboratory. Now, laser cleaning is already in use in case of several types of objects conservation measures, but further research should be carried on in this way. And at the end of this module, I should suggest the student to consult with the references which is already given at the end of the module. One can take help from the web links which is given in this module, and also help may be given from the main points of do you know, and one can practice multiple choice questions which helps anyone to do or to go through the remedial measures which have already taken, or further studies about the remedial measures of the conservation of the cultural property in our country or in tropical countries like India. Thank you.